We have my
Hey.
one of my very best friends, Miss Britt Benton. She is a
Hi.
photographer and she actually photographed my wedding. She introduced me and Rob. And she is like the best photographer. You guys have photographed Mario Lopez for years. You guys photographed for People magazine and all kinds of stuff like crazy. You photograph weddings all over the country. And we actually met because I was trying to get back into modeling and you did one of my photo shoots. So they're so fun. And then you introduced me to my husband and the rest is history.
I know. I think you were in hair and makeup getting ready, and you
Yep.
were talking about, oh, I'm, thinking about dating, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, hmm, Shane's gonna try to take credit for this. But I'm like, Rob. We're like, what
And
about
then
this guy?
the rest is a history. I met the crazy Italian guy from the East Coast. He happens to be from Rhode Island, and my mom's from Rhode Island, so it was just really funny all across the board. And then 2 years later, what? Nobody thought we were gonna make it. No. And we
I always
got
thought
married. I know.
I've been your biggest fan since the beginning. I'm like, you guys are meant to be together. I promise you.
I know.
Just
Britt has had many of late night cry sessions when you're working through, that like new stage. And then Rob and I had um our babies and we had Cashton and we went through like such a kind of traumatic time. We never really spent time to like celebrate ourselves or our wedding. And so we just
yeah,
decided for his 50th, let's do it and let's do it huge. And we
right.
we did.
Huge. Let's do it. You did. You're like,
And
we're gonna do my birthday. We're gonna do his birthday.
when I'm 4 months postpartum, I am in
I know.
sync-city.
Oh
It's
my
like, so
God.
I need you to fly out from California to Florida. I'm giving you 30 days notice and you have to do my whole wedding, please.
And I'm like, okay. I definitely I will be there. I will bring a camera, but I just want to make sure you're okay. Let's just like pause for a moment, breathe.
So it really turned out absolutely beautiful. And I know some of the followers have seen, I will post a lot of like my photos and stuff because I just love the way that you photograph. And you and your husband actually own the business together and you go to the shoots together and he helps you with lighting. But you really are the woman and shoots. She shoots too? Sorry, excuse me.
I did.
Like
I
the
taught him how
star.
to shoot a long time
Yeah.
ago, like 8 years ago. And then I
Yeah,
threw him in.
It's the star of the range photography that I want everybody, they go everywhere. If you guys need a photographer and you want somebody that is like faith-based Christian, do what they say, integrity, like show up and have a good time and literally no judgment and just like so just fun and great to be around. They can fit in. They'll become your best friends. Just you can't take her. I think that it's like the best thing. So Britt and I were talking, and as like Abundant Academy evolved, I was always like, okay, I think that you need to teach a photography course on how, because a lot of moms want to know how can I photograph my baby? How can I photograph myself? If I want to be an influencer, what are certain angles? Da 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 da, right? Then I also
Mm,
thought another course for you would be great to teach how do you actually have a photography business? How do you turn this passion into profit? Like my whole thing. How do you actually do that? Because you've done it. And
yeah.
then we got to thinking even harder, and we're like, you know what? My event planner for my wedding was so beautiful. She was amazing. I loved her. And my wedding was a little bit different because I needed to like move quickly. I needed to get a
Mm,
lot done in a short period of time. Had I had time to plan it, I probably would have preferred to do it on my own, knowing what I know now, because
right. You would have taken more time to do it.
yeah, because it can be so overwhelming and expensive that you just kind of lean into an event planner to do it for you because you don't know what to do yourself. So Britt and I got to talking and we're like, "Oh my gosh, I know AI, Britt knows weddings. Let's make something together to where it's like a tool for brides
Yeah,
like I was and like you've been, or that you work with every day now, of what can let's be able to create something that you can put in all of your questions. You can explain what you want for your wedding. You
right.
can really answer all of like the questions of like how many people in your bridal party? What do you want this? A lot of that comes from what a photographer actually needs from like a set list and everything. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's make it so we can create and produce this basically digital binder for you where you plan out your whole wedding by answering some questions. So that's the product that we're going to be like giving you, right? Letting you see and participate in. But what I want to do on this panel is talk through a lot of those questions that we like helped us create this product, and how can certain brides kind of do things on your own? Because really, what you can't replace is a wedding photographer, your makeup artist, maybe your hair person, maybe, but to keep it staying, probably not. But you definitely can't replace the photographer because you can't take your own picture. You could set up a tripod, it would be really hard.
I've been thinking about this, by the way. I've been trying to
Yeah.
figure this out and like how, because you were talking, we were like DIY stuff, and I'm like seriously, like there's a
You,
lot of questions that I think that people should ask themselves, right? About like what they're really looking for and their vision and stuff like that. And I think that that's one of the big things that you and I can definitely like kind of outline. Like if you want it to be beautiful and you want the photos to turn out well, there are certain things that you can look for in your venue and certain ways that you can, have things decorated and lighting and time of day. And there's a lot of things that you can do to like make sure that everything's kind of set up perfectly. However, there's just like, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't DIY
well,
my own wedding.
here's the thing, because not everybody can afford, before we delve into fully like planning your own wedding, I think it's a good point that I would really love to hear from you. What's the best way to set up your wedding, your day of, your wedding rehearsal? Because sometimes you can't afford to have a photographer at your wedding rehearsal or your day after brunch. What are certain things that people can be doing to look for lighting, that kind of thing?
Right.
Because I genuinely, I don't know. I'm fortunate to have you that you just helped me with all of that. But like some people don't. And not to mention, not everybody is as good of a photographer as you are. And so sometimes you hire a photographer and the photographer isn't great. So if you want to kind of bulletproof your day, that might be helpful too, to understand some of
Yeah.
those tips before we delve into how to plan your own wedding.
Yeah. And I definitely, and there's like a list of some stuff that I've also, since you and I've been talking about this, that I've put
Yeah.
together on really important things that like, because first of all, I've also had, well, two weddings now because I had a big one back before I was ever a photographer, right? And then I also had my wedding with Shane and I, which was way, smaller, intimate, more micro wedding like situation, which
Mhm.
I didn't know what that term was until I became a wedding photographer. So there's a lot of terms out there that people are like, I don't know what that means. So there's like elopement, and then there's micro wedding, and then there's actual wedding, right? So
Right,
everybody's
right.
like, oh, I'm having a small wedding. It's only like 60 people, but it's a 8 hour, 12-hour day. And I'm like, that's not a small wedding. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
make a difference when it comes to wedding photography because we're looking at the time of coverage, right? And these are all things
Okay.
that when you're starting out and you're trying to plan your first wedding, you have no clue. I mean,
No,
literally
you
everything
just know
gets so
everything is 10 times the price. That's all you know.
It can be for sure. Yeah, there are certain things you should definitely go, I don't know, is it a wedding or is it a,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is like, first of all, you don't want to mess it up. It is one day, you can't redo it. And that's one of the big things. Like, I will say right now, as a wedding photographer, one of the biggest things that happens that I've noticed, we get calls a lot from people who are like, we had an awful wedding photographer and we don't have any photos from our wedding that we love. And is there any way that you can recreate or redo? And I'm like, oh my God, I hate this for you. I hate
Yeah.
this for you because because I know the thought process that you probably went through, and you were trying to save money on budget, and you didn't think about wedding photography as being a huge part of it because you were like, oh, oh yeah, I guess I need somebody there to photograph it, like towards
Yeah.
the end, right? So it was like a last minute booking. You didn't book in advance. You didn't find the one you wanted. You probably didn't like ask them or call them, or you just looked at the budget and you were like, oh, sure, you'll do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Right.
so many things, right? So vendor, the place wherever you, I mean the venue, sorry, not vendor, but we're vendors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
venue, huge, very important, right? That's your like first thing that you should book. Second thing you should book is your wedding photographer.
Mhm.
Literally, you should start calling
No, you're
and
right when you say that, because for me, I don't even know my wedding, right? So I don't even remember it. I was stressed the whole time. I was like focused on babies or making sure this person's there, or somebody has a complaint about something, or somebody need to know what to do with what. I don't even really remember. I remember walking down the aisle to Rob, and I remember walking back and dancing a little bit. But that's it. Sorry, my kids are going crazy. But that's it. I don't remember anything else. What I do have though is pictures, and I send them, like they pop up on my phone now, and I can send them to
yes,
like, oh my gosh, you remember that day? And there were moments when he's like, no, but that
I
looks
know,
really
I
nice.
typical. That's so typical. But then you look back at the photos and you're like, oh, I was having fun. Oh my
I
gosh,
look
that was a good
really,
moment.
yes. Oh, I look
I,
beautiful when you get pregnant
I know,
afterwards.
right?
And you
You're
wanna
like,
be like, I remember
wow.
when I was skinny, you know?
You're like, but I
We're
was so
we're
sleep
20 years
deprived. I
younger.
was
So
so
I feel
I
20
know.
years older since
Totally.
then.
It's so
It was last
important.
year.
And you looked amazing. You did. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like and that's the thing. Like I wanted you to see how gorgeous you looked and how beautiful you looked and how like important those moments were. And like, oh God, it's just so important. It's so
It is.
important to have a great photographer to really honestly be with you from the very beginning.
Yes. So how do you bulletproof your day? And that's through, I think, planning, right? Because if you don't plan, you plan to
Obviously.
fail, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is um don't expect to try to take and okay, here's the thing. Don't expect to like AI, you were talking about AI. AI can do a lot of things for you, which I think is amazing. And I think that the thing you're creating is going to be insanely helpful, right? And but one of the things that you can't do with AI is you can't like connect it to your brain and have these visions that you have just come to life.
Yeah, that's true.
So it still requires planning and thinking about your actual vision of what you want, right? And so once you kind of have an idea of like what things will look like or what you kind of envision that day to be in general, then
Mhm.
you can start going, okay, but it's so helpful to like have questions that you can just answer and input. Like
Right,
this is kind of what, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, here's my answer to that.
right,
Or, I don't know my answer. I'm going to skip it and come back to it.
right.
So I
Right. So
think that
what questions do you start with your brides? Because I know you sent me like a long list of questions. And what do you
no.
find, which is great, which I'm like, we are using and we are expanding upon and we are replicating because it's important. But because you do shoot such beautiful weddings. And honestly, I think that if you have your photographer and a really good plan, and then your hair and makeup person, you've pretty much got your wedding together, right? Then you only have to make sure that you find the dress, you find the
Absolutely. Well, yeah, dress
you
is
find
important.
but having the plan as to, okay, these are the different places I go. And then AI can also help you find your stores, your locations, your sales, all of that within your location. So it can help you plan all of that to know where all of those things are. But
Right.
knowing the core of it, if somebody's sitting here today going, okay, I'm getting married, I just got engaged, which most people a lot of people get engaged over the holidays, right? What are
Absolutely.
they going to
Yeah.
be doing? They're going into this year, they're getting married in 2025. What's their, okay, they've hired you. Now what? Okay, they have their photographer. They think they're going to get married wherever. They think they know their venue. They've hired you. Now, what do they ask themselves?
Well, I want to go back just a slight bit. So before they hire me, right? So they're
Mhm.
going to call me. They're going to reach out to me, and generally, this is how it goes, right? This is the very typical day. I get an inquiry, and it says basically having a wedding. What's your pricing? That's And I totally
Right.
understand that. And I am not faulting anybody and I'm not judging you because I totally get it because I've been there. There are certain things you should definitely make sure that you include in that just to even get a base price of like what I'm gonna be, charging at starting price. So the number one thing that I need to know is how many hours you want coverage for, right? So I need to know how many hours do you want me to be there covering your wedding? And that comes with a lot of questions too. Like, what photos do I want? Do I want getting ready photos? Do I want,
Right.
do I want my photographer to be there as they're like putting on my final touches of makeup and like the hair curls and my girls behind
I did.
me,
Yeah.
or my mom helping me do something, or my dad coming in and seeing me for the first
That
time,
was
or my,
really important to me.
those are really intimate, really sweet moments that I personally love, like the
But it took a
anticipation.
lot of planning because, like, for me, I had to tell you I wanted those. I knew that in my head I wanted that and I wanted candid. If I could do it
Right.
over, I would have made my very like structured the actually what I told you I didn't want. I would have made that happen. Me being older and wiser now, looking back, I would have wanted my structured each family member, the whole family together. I would have wanted the whole group. I should have done that. I didn't because I didn't want to overwhelm people and I just wanted to be able to enjoy. But like, then I forgot,
I
right?
did
So,
try to get
huh?
you. I said I did
But
try to get you to do. I did
I
try to get
know,
you to
no,
do.
I know. And I said, no, I don't want that, right?
You're like absolutely
So I'm
100%
telling the
no.
bride, you totally did. He's like, no, I know better than you. And I don't, hello. And I don't want
But
that.
at the end of the day, it's your wedding. Like I'm not going to push you to do something that you don't want to
Of
do, and I
course,
totally
you
get that.
can't.
And those are like the least fun photos anyway. Like just standing there waiting for people to like come and do their like, oh, they're super annoying for everybody, especially the bride. Like when you're standing there and you're hot and you just got married, you're like standing there going, okay, family formals, where are my family members? And
Right.
it's so frustrating,
That's what I wanted
which
to
we try
avoid.
as best we can. But I'm telling you right now, you can't control everybody. So
No.
they do.
And
Yeah.
the getting ready photos were great though, because everybody was on board. We took a lot of like sneak peek pictures because we were a blended family. So I wanted to make sure we did that where it was like I didn't just do a surprise look with my dad and my husband. I did a surprise look with my bonus son. It was so cute.
You know, those were so
Yeah, it
sweet.
was really cute. It was really cute. But
And Kaya gets on the pool table.
yeah, exactly. So I like, okay, so for all of the brides looking, I think if they back out a little bit and they take a minute and say, what do I want my pictures to look like? Because let's be real, yeah, you may get really lucky and all the stars align and your wedding's going to be perfect. But maybe not.
That
We want that to be
happened.
committed, but it's never going to happen. So
It's
back
gonna happen.
up. And what do you
Yeah.
want your pictures to remember? What do you want? What's your priority?
Mhm.
And from there we can back into that, even backs into how are you going to set up your set list? How are you going to set up your playlist? When is your itinerary gets adjusted based off of the pictures that you want? Because I front loaded a lot of our pictures on the getting ready and the look see and the private. I wanted that even before we got married. Rob and I did our wedding pictures before we had walked down the aisle to each other. Like the actual aisle walking and the wedding piece wasn't even as much of a priority. We have beautiful pictures. You guys did a fabulous job, but the
But it's
important
still, yeah.
for me was a different part of it.
Yeah.
But and I'm happy I have those pictures because they were beautiful and it was when people were fresh and excited.
Yeah, I know, I know. Well, before everybody got exhausted or trash, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, really. And we did have an open bar.
Alcohol at
Um,
your wedding in any location, people will be trash, just so you know.
yeah. So what do you
But
want that to look like? Yeah.
yeah, what do you want that to look like? I think that a good way to think about that is like if you were gonna blow up photos from your wedding and put them on your wall, like what are those photos that you would want on your wall? And I think that kind of helps you gather your thoughts. Like, is it just you and your groom, you and your husband that you
Right.
want those photos on the wall, or is it more the more candid, like actual genuine moments of like dad's tear falling down his face, or things like that? Like, what are
Right.
those like? How do you see that in your home
Right.
or on your coffee table in a book?
Right.
Just the highlight reel
Mm-hmm.
that can
Yeah.
help you kind of structure it a little bit, and
So
it
then,
helps you go on Pinterest and look at like other people's photos, or if you have friends and stuff, look at their
yeah.
stuff, see what about that. Like it's important to kind of have a vision.
Yeah. And know yourself enough that this is like your time to be selfish and to set boundaries. That was one way that I went to planning my wedding was I was like, okay, I have a very blended family. I have a very dynamic family. I have opposing viewpoints. I have people flying in from California, LA, from Florida, from different areas in Florida. I had people from all over that were coming in and they were staying. It was a 3-day event. It was like ridiculously large, very fun. I don't remember it, not because
I
I was
cannot
freaking, but
see
because I was so
a
busy.
little. Yes, I know. Okay.
But
That's even that's a very typical thing though. Even if it's not as busy, and yours was crazy busy. I mean, you had so much going on. I still to this day, I mean, this is who you are though. Like you just get things done. Like you are just one of
crazy.
those people. But not everybody can be that like organized and get their stuff together like that. Like, you not everybody's
Well,
a
you help. But I think
superhuman.
the way that I was able to do that and back into it was I said, okay, what's going to make my heart happiest? What's going to keep my husband calmest, right? Because if he sees me upset, he gets upset. And then if he gets
Yeah.
upset, everybody.
Right.
So,
Yep.
so we're going
Oh
to
no. We
so we're not going to have my biggest thing that I kept saying was I'm not having drama at my wedding.
right.
Period. So we're going to set it
Hmm.
up in a way that is like the least amount of drama, the most planned out I possibly could. So I built out my itineraries the day before, the day after, and the day of the event, all the way down to like my set list of like what songs I want played when. I talked to my husband about
Hmm.
what does that look like to me? What kind of pictures do I want in that? What do I want to remember? What kind of social media videos do I want? What we had the venue and we actually had just stumbled upon the venue. And that's why we had decided to get married at that time. The venue actually had an altar in the house.
I
It
know.
was a house in Florida. It was so like such a God thing.
I know you sent me that photo. I was like, or the videos and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be
Yeah.
great. You're gonna be fine. It's gonna work out perfect.
Yes.
I mean, what is it? The AC that went out.
Yeah. See, but life happens. There was air conditioning that went
Happened.
out. We had issues. One of the freezers didn't work. One of the chefs, the people to come and cook didn't show up. I mean, it was just chaos. My
So we,
husband was on all day on Friday, getting our
so we
ring.
pivot. Yes, but look, but it got done, and it always does.
So
It
I
always
had
does.
a great planner, and that's what we're backing in. That's what this like AI tool is for, right? So it's like it will help you spit out itineraries that you can hand to vendors, itineraries that you can hand to yourself, itineraries that you can hand to your bridal party. I didn't have a large bridal party. I did that on purpose because I'm so old now and I had babies and it was like this was like our vow renewal. We had already really been married on paper. It was like a whole thing. Like it wasn't, but we were doing it for my dad and my picture. I wanted the pictures. That was my big thing is I wanted my wedding pictures for my daughter to see. I wanted a beautiful gown that I walked down to the person that I love. Like I wanted that because I hadn't had that. So those were things that were important, but I needed to be able to hand stuff to people, right? Like,
Yeah.
here's what you have to do. Drama happens a lot of the
Yeah.
time. People don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You did it so beautifully. And the best thing you can do is just once your makeup's on,
Yeah.
don't cry.
Yeah. I know.
No
You should
crying.
have seen Britt talking me off the ledge. Like, it's okay. It's okay. Don't, it's okay. It's all right. The
It's
cake
gonna
will
be
come. The cake will be here eventually. Don't worry
it's,
about it. It's not here now.
it's right.
That's okay.
I'm gonna go find it. Stay right there. I want you to sit. I want you to breathe. Fan. Somebody come fan her. There we go. I think at one point I was like taking your shoes off and putting them back on, or going and getting you some other shoes. I think I ran up those stairs like 8 times, but that's so typical. Like I expect to
Don't
do
have
those
a
things.
venue with three staircases. Try to avoid that at all costs.
You
With
know
small
what? You're
children.
great for the next week after that. It was a great workout. I was pouring sweat by the end of it all, but I'm in all black, so I don't care. I don't have to look
Yeah,
good.
right.
Actually, I was right down.
I know. I know. I made you wear a bridesmaid's dress. Well, because you're a
And
bridesmaid.
heels.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, you don't get to be a vendor today. You have to be both.
That was the biggest challenge for me.
It was great. You did it beautifully, though. You really did. And I just think that you are such a wealth of knowledge that I'm so like lucky to be able to work with you on this. Because how many weddings have you done so far? I mean,
I've never even thought about it. Like I honestly,
maybe
um,
hundreds.
I don't know.
Has to be, right?
Was it
It's
hundreds? I
crazy.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot.
a lot, a lot.
Like 10, 12 years.
Wow.
So I mean, maybe maybe more than I'm thinking. I don't know. A lot.
So, do you suggest when brides are kind of going through their moment and thinking, okay, what do I want my wedding to look like? Do you suggest that they stick with the times, they go classic? What kind of photographs best, even if they had a bad photographer? Like, should they do the trending things? Or, I mean, do you have any tips on that? Because I know some people,
There
yeah,
are some things that are trendy things that I think are cute, right? I think all of those things are just extras, though, to be honest with you. I
yeah,
think that if you first of all focus on making sure that like you've got to talk to your wedding photographer. You need to meet them. Need to know that your personalities match. Like you need to see that they are going to be able to be there for you and pivot when they need to. Like as a wedding photographer, being a professional wedding photographer, that is our job. Our
yeah,
job more so that, I mean, we have to be able to take great photos, right?
yeah,
Not all photographers are do the same thing. So somebody who doesn't specialize in wedding photography is not who you should be looking at. You need to make sure that they specialize in wedding photography because majority of what we do is pivot and look for candid moments, look for like specific details. I mean, we are scanning and working, our brains are working, we are on point and have to be on point from the second that we show up until the second we leave. And even then, we're like making sure that you guys are okay before we leave. Like it is game
yeah,
time all the time, 100% of the time. And if we drop the ball, like that's really, you just can't drop the ball. So you
yeah,
have to make sure that you click with the wedding photographer, and then that wedding photographer will take you through from the very beginning to the very end. Make sure that we have our own personal shot list that we have put together. I'm doing a wedding coming up, and I just finished her first round of her shot list based on the timeline that that I've received. Like, so she sent me her timeline saying this is when the ceremony is, this is when just the basics, right? So I took all of that with all that information and I have my basic shot list down. But then that also opens it up for all the other questions that I have. Like, okay, I see that we don't have a lot of space before the ceremony. Did you want those? I will question all of those things just to make sure that she doesn't feel like
yeah,
she's missing out on something and then later on go, oh my gosh, well, I just thought that, you would do that. Well, no, we need to make sure that I'm there for the amount of time that you need for that coverage. So if you want me
yeah.
there for hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff and anything before, then we need to make sure that that's in the shot list, in the timeline from the very beginning. So
Which I
yeah,
think is so great I'm so happy that you are consulting and we're doing this together and being able to put together this like bot basically. And what it does is it asks the bride all of these questions that you're
yeah,
talking about. So the
which
bride can
helps.
into what she wants, which helps vendors, right? Even if you do go hiring all of your vendors, even if you do go hire an event planner, you're more organized and understanding what you're doing too. And when the date comes, you will be like, where am I supposed to be? Like it
Of
just
course,
happens
like,
at the bride. Like what am I supposed to be doing? Because there's talk about overstimulated. There's so many things happening. Like so
it's
to
the
ask
biggest party of
those
your
questions,
life. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So to be able to like ask those questions and have that thought processed with you beforehand is helpful. Like people are very fortunate when they hire you that you do ask those questions, but not every vendor is going to ask those questions or be as nice about it as you are. So, because I know that I experienced some kind of actually I had great experience, but I set boundaries pretty well. If I don't like you, like I'll let you know. Like I'm like I don't think this is going to be a
okay.
culture fit for me. Yeah, I think we're going to move in a different direction. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, okay. But that's okay though, because it's your day, you know?
Yeah.
Like you should be picky. And you should, and all of that should be done ahead of time, right? Because
Yeah.
in the day of, no matter how sleep deprived you are, you like I know from my experience, um, you need to be able to enjoy those moments. And that's something I kept telling you, like just be present, you know, just enjoy
Yeah.
these moments. Those are going to be the best photos that you can ever ask for, is when you're just like genuinely just present. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you have everything ahead of time and then try to get some sleep the night before, which never happens.
No. But if you know that you've got it pretty much covered, sorry, my son. If you know that you've got it pretty much covered, right? And then it's just a matter of here, everybody, this is what you're doing. We'll discuss it, what have you. Then you're just like, okay, let the chips fall where they may. Things are gonna go wrong.
Right.
Go right. You're okay. Your vision will come to life the best way that it's supposed to. And it'll probably be better than what you're expecting in whatever way, depending on how you see it, right? So you need to be positive and have a good outlook and understand that nothing's gonna be exactly as you thought it was, but maybe that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't need your wedding planning to be testing your marriage like
No, before
at
you
that,
even get started. Oh, and don't even get me started on the fact that thank goodness we have a budgeting tool as well, because those little Etsy gifts and and that's why we like have on, so you can go to AI Wedding Planner and you can go shopping with all these little Etsy gifts in packages, like preset, ready for you, priced out, because I'm I went like crazy lady and overdid it with all of these little Etsy things, this $10 thing here, this $100 thing here, this $200. That's not a bad gig. That's not a bad gig. After a while, you're like 10 grand deep in
yeah, you
little
went
things
from
that you
a
had to have.
$100,000 wedding in like 10 seconds. No, I know. No, and that's very typical too. You just don't even think about like all the little things add up for sure. Like
Yes.
yeah, your budget should be based on your biggest things first, and then that's what I was saying before. Detail, like small little things. That's just the same. So blah, 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 the same with wedding photography, like photo stuff. Like stop. Like if you're going to create a shot list for the photographer ahead of time, which I don't know that I necessarily recommend that. I mean, I think that the timeline is important, right? I need to see your timeline, but I also want to know, if there are specific things that you're really, how you see your vision. If there are things you're really wanting, I of course want to know those things. But I am also going to make sure that I throw a bunch of other questions out there just to make sure. And we're going to talk a lot, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
I want you to be present. I don't want you to focus on all those little bitty props and little bitty things and like, oh my gosh, I bought this thing and I forgot to use it for my wedding photos. it doesn't matter. It's your wedding. It should be about
Right.
you and your husband to be. I
Yeah.
mean, don't make it about everybody else.
That's the hard part. And that's the part that like gets really complicated and is good for boundary setting and good for taking time to actually ask yourself the important questions of what do I want this to look like when I look back? Because
Yeah.
you need to be able to set those boundaries and remain calm and realize that the priority is you're actually marrying the love of your life, not
Yeah.
anything else. That's the
Not trying
priority.
to plan the best party on the planet. And I
Although
think that it becomes a competition. People start thinking, oh my God, I want everybody to think that this was the best party ever.
that's for
Like,
sure. That's like
hey,
totally, yeah. It's not right, but it happens.
it does. It just subconsciously, you just go from this is going to be such a beautiful day and a beautiful moment to that became 30 minutes of my life where I actually, planned a moment with my husband to, oh my gosh, I'm throwing the best party ever. It's got to have the best food. It's got to have the best, gifts. It's
Right,
got to have,
right,
it's like,
right,
wait
right.
a minute, do have a wedding then, and then throw a badass party later. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Or
don't the
use use
two.
use our AI chart. No.
There you go. No,
Both.
seriously.
No, but really, one thing that we did really well was we scheduled in that, and I want to end on this note, is making sure that you schedule in breaks for yourself and you schedule in breaks for you and your kids and you and if you have kids before you get married and you and your husband. Schedule in those little breaks during your wedding time. And like so Rob and I, when we cut the cake, we did it when nobody was around. And I know that that's very like anti-traditional and whatever, but I mean, you were there, but we got pictures, but we wanted it to be very, a very intimate moment of just he and I, where nobody was
I
really
love
paying attention and it wasn't a big deal, but it was a moment of he and I, and it's some of my cutest photos with him that I like, it was like, we were both just genuinely really happy. And like, there wasn't this pressure of like, because Rob doesn't like to be in the limelight. So he didn't like walking down the aisle. He was like nervous. So the pictures that I got of that was him being like, he looked,
goofy.
he's handsome, but he was like
I
annoyed.
know.
And if you know him, you know he's like, hey, I know, come on.
Yeah, yeah. The photos. Britt, take the photo. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Versus we're eating cake together when nobody's looking and it was like a cute genuine like laugh of us together and having that kind of moment on my wedding
Yeah.
day with him was really important because those were the kinds of pictures that I framed. That's what was important to me, not like, you know what I mean? Because I take those every day. I take those
I
every
know.
Christmas. Like,
And you can do those. Yeah. You can do those any time of your life. Like you can do all the cozy stuff. Like, yeah, seriously.
yeah.
The candid moments are the best. And you know what? I have to say this. I absolutely think that more people should do the private cake thing. I
Yeah, it
really
was so
do.
beautiful. It was really, really awesome. Because everybody's
That
gonna
was
eat cake,
oh my,
but then you don't
and
have
you
to
need
rile them
never see
around. It's hard at a birthday party, let alone like forget it. I just
I've never seen a film like that. I honestly, that was one of the more unique aspects that I thought was really, really cool that you guys did that. I never really
hey,
even thought to do that before, but I always struggle, and I don't know why I never thought to do or propose that to anybody because I've always struggled with, okay, I'm 5'3", which I know that that's my issue, and I will figure out how to get that shot. But I'm going to tell you right now, when everyone is standing all around the cake, it is really
yeah,
difficult position ourselves and people will just
right,
hurt in. So it's like,
right.
why to watch you eat cake? Like,
I know. I just didn't want that. I wanted a moment that was significant in the wedding of Rob and I together. And I'm really
yeah,
glad I did it that way. I am.
yeah,
But it took thinking it through, also just making decisions and being okay with the decisions that I make. So trusting my gut,
yeah,
but being able to, and being very honest with myself about like, this is my budget. This is what I could afford because and I didn't know this. It was actually my stepmom that told me, she's like, take your budget, take what you can spend, double it.
yep,
And then you know that that's probably what you're going to be spending. So always
absolutely.
tell your vendors half of what your budget is. So your budget is 20 grand, tell them 10 and see if they
Yep.
can work within it. And
Absolutely.
and be honest, but have them work with you. And so if you can do a lot of the legwork up front. So if I'm like, look, I can only spend 10 grand on my wedding, but I come with, here's my, all of my information. You don't have to do a bunch of homework. This is the, how I want things done. It's verified by the vendors, whatever. Here you go. Then you can say, all right, and you have a better picture. You're not the hemming and hawing for 20 weeks on having to talk to the person for 45 minutes on this, that, and you know, their yellow cat. I don't know. You come prepared. Maybe they'll work with you and your budget a little bit better. I don't know.
And
My theory.
will. No, it's like seriously, you should always ask. You should always ask, even if like for instance, even if the vendor, I'm just going to say vendor because as a wedding photographer, we are vendors, right? So even if the vendor has starting prices at like 7,000 and you need something that is like starts at like 3,000, right? If there's somebody you truly want to work with and you're like, I've seen their work or I've seen this venue or I've seen this, you know, florist or whatever, I've seen this before, I really, really want these people. Call them and see, tell them your vision and see if they have a way to work with you.
Yeah.
If you really want to work with them, try to see if there's a way to come together and work together. And if they can't figure out a way to work with you,
because they may have an assistant or a friend, and then most vendors have friends that can come and they can say, okay, I'll do half and half. Something. Because you're right. You need to lean into vendors, know other vendors as well. And it's in everybody's best interest to do business with them. You can always say, hey, I'll give you a referral fee if you can help me stay in my budget. Treat it like a business a little.
Sure. And photographers, gosh, I love what I do because I will tell you right now, because you know, I used to do acting back in the day and it's just so different from acting, right? So the acting world, nobody wants to share any information, right?
Right.
Photographers like bleh. Not only do they share information with you, but we're like, oh my gosh, I can't take that date, but let me refer you to somebody who, and we don't take anything off of it. We just are like, seriously, I know some people who shoot very similar to us. Let me refer you to them, see if they have your date available. If they don't, let me know. If you have any questions, even though that we're not working together, or if you don't go with us, please call us. We want your day to go well. We want your day to go. We don't want you to stress. And those are the people that you have to look for. You know, you really need to call and just have that conversation, short conversations, get to know the personalities, because the people you want at your wedding who are going to be the people who have your back are the people who are like, you know, front and center, like helping you out. And you don't want somebody who's going to stress you out.
Right. You don't. Absolutely not. So you want to make sure that you jive as well. Well, I think anybody and everybody in the world would jive with you. I just love you so much. And
I love you so much.
I just appreciate that you've made the time to work with me. I'm so excited to see how this all comes together. It should be ready. In the next segment, I'll be talking with Meredith Tanner from Phil Stringer's team, who's like the AI, like God guru, been on like stages with Tony Robbins. She's designing this AI bot for us. So we're using Britt's wealth of knowledge. We're using the fact that I just got married, and we're giving it all to Meredith, and she's creating this amazing thing for us to be able to empower you guys and give you some digital tools to use for free and to work. And then also we have some products to buy that can plan your whole wedding. So like, it's so cool. It's so neat.
I so wish I had this.
I know, me too. It would have saved me a lot of money and time.
I know, and time and stress. Okay, let's go back in time.
I hope everybody gets really empowered. What?
We should all get married after.
I know, let's do it again. Let's do it all over again. Let's see.
More likely to do it now.
But I just want everybody to get empowered this year. And I'm so excited for all of you brides that are just like preparing into 2025. If you need a shout out or a push to your boyfriend to propose to you, you should do it. She's the one. Propose. No, I'm just kidding.
Put a ring on it.
But get married, have fun, have lots of babies, and we're very excited for you.
Absolutely. Love you.
And
Mwah.
you can find Britt. We have her linked. We have her everywhere, and you can find her on our Instagram. But she's also linked in your community, so you can find her. And if you give her enough shout outs, she may teach a couple of courses on Abundant Academy. So we hope. So make sure
We
to
shall
look out for
see.
that.
Well, hey, and I'm going to send you a bunch of other information as well, too. So you can put
Oh,
that up there
good.
if you want. Okay.
Amazing. We will
I'll send
send
you
those recipes also. Yeah. Okay. Thanks,
all
Britt.
my secrets. Love
All your
you.
secrets.